Obstacles to effective listening. One of the first rules of thumb of being an effective student is being a good listener. And as you know, being an effective listener can actually be quite challenging. So today I want to talk for just a bit about why that's true. What are some of those obstacles to effective listening? One of the things that causes difficulty in listening effectively is something that's kind of biological, which I think is quite interesting. We can listen and think a lot faster than a speaker can speak. When you think about the average rate of speech for most Americans, we're talking 125 to 150 words per minute. 200 words a minute probably at the tops for a very fast speaker. Now that's pretty slow for a human brain, which is made up of 13 billion cells. Some psychologists think that a person at times may think as fast as 60,000 words per minute. So there's quite a gap there between the listening at 125 words a minute and thinking at 60,000 words a minute. So what happens is, as we're listening, we have all kinds of additional brain power that we can be using, and that brain power is often used to then take us off into tangents, and it lets our mind wander. And then our listening is often not put to effective use. Another thing that can significantly impact our ability to listen is our emotional or physical state. If our emotional energy is directed elsewhere, it's very difficult to listen, and you may have experienced that. If you just had a fight with your boyfriend or girlfriend and you come to class, it's very hard to keep your mind and attention on what that speaker is saying. You're off still rehashing that fight and, oh, I should have said this and why did he say that? If we're physically unwell, it's very hard to attend and listen effectively. And again, I'm sure you've all experienced this. You come to class, you're fighting an infection, you have a miserable cold, very hard to pay attention and really listen effectively. Now, that doesn't give you any excuse for not doing well in this class. Just telling you that it does affect your ability to listen. Another thing that affects your ability to listen is the speaker and the habits the speaker has. Sometimes rather annoying habits, I might add. How many of you have had a speaker that said the word a lot? Pretty annoying, and sometimes you get so fixated with those ums that you can't hear the words in between. I know that I've had college professors where I actually count the ums that are peppered in their speech. And guess what? When I'm so busy counting those ums, I'm probably not hearing what the speaker's trying to say. Sometimes a speaker has a very unstructured organizational pattern, and I find this, and people often find this very distracting and makes it hard to pay attention and hard to listen effectively. Visual distractions can often cause people to not listen effectively. If you see people walking by the door, if there's visual distractions outside the window, if sometimes people suggest that deaf people, when they're signing, that's visually distracting to them and can take away from your ability to listen effectively. And the last thing that is sometimes distracting is internal and external noise. Now, what do I mean by internal and external noise? First is the internal noise. You may be sitting there thinking, boy, this content is way too complex. There's no way I don't understand it. There's no way I can pass this test. We have stuff mulling around in our heads that we pay attention to, which blocks our paying attention to the speaker. And then there's also external noise. If you stop and listen very carefully, you can hear the air conditioning running in this classroom. You might, if you listen very carefully, hear the jackhammer off in the distance. It could be that there's a couple students sitting next to you that are whispering or chatting with each other that you're finding distracting. If a microphone is being used, a microphone that might have static would be distracting. So both internal and external noise can in fact impede your ability to listen. Now it's really important that you're aware of these barriers to effective listening and that you try to minimize their impact as best that you can. So for starters, get a good night's sleep. Sit in the classroom where you know there's going to be less visual distractions and perhaps less disruptive noise. Working on these kind of things can make you a more effective listener, and with any luck, can make you a better student.